Yeah, I should be synced as well. And this time I'm wearing headphones because last time I experimented a little bit, and JT was immediately like, "What the like?" No, he was extremely kind. Okay, hello, listeners and viewers. We're immediately starting off with a JT rant. Okay,
Yep.
All of this shit would sound like shit and would look like shit, even more shit than it already is, without the brilliant technical knowledge of my American boy right here. But me and Hakeem, we do our absolute best to test the boundaries of just how ghetto we can make this thing. And last time, like, I did not have a real reason for it. I was just like, I went into the recording for the previous episode, and I was like, I really don't feel like wearing headphones. Like, it's too hot. I'm not wearing headphones. And JT, he was like, okay. Even though I'm 100% sure he knew what the consequence would be, which
I
is
suspected. So
what, an additional 20 hours of labor time on your end in order to make me sound good?
No, not 20 hours, but it took another 30% as long, probably something like that, 30-40%.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I will do it again. I will definitely do it again.
I know. You'll find a new way. And then Hakeem with his 2 megabyte files. I'm like, how do I polish this turd?
I will never apologize. I will never stop recording with MP3, delivering you MP3s, compressed, by the way, from my Blue Yeti microphone. I'm kidding.
With your cable that's almost snapped.
Look, this is my issue, and I don't want this to become like a Hakeem stereotype. I want to improve the setup. There's so much shit that happens every fucking day in my life that
Your audio is fine.
Yeah, thank you, Habibi.
At least I think it's fine. It never bothered me.
I'm glad. To JT's pristine, everything has to be 6 gigabyte delivered files, unless it's
I understand.
Unless it completely eats up your entire hard drive space, he's not happy.
Yeah.
Which is a great jumping off to what we were talking about right before we started the recording, which is our lovely guest that we're going to introduce later, of course, talking about how he set up a very cool looking studio and got all the equipment that is necessary, et cetera. But how did you figure out what you need to get? Talking to people or classic, I'm going to sit here and Google it, which is, I do 50-50. I sit here and Google it, but then I go with my Google over to JT. I'm like, is this stupid? And he always says, yes, that is stupid. You can get something much cheaper.
I actually, my first year in college wasn't history. It was cinema. So I have a little bit of an advantage because I studied cinema in college. I didn't finish it, but that gave me a little bit of an advantage in knowledge-wise, so I could start my research. But the thing that helped me the most was last year I started recording. We rented a studio with a team to record some videos, and I asked the team everything.
Nice.
I asked them which cameras they use, which lights they use, which sound equipment they use, how did they isolate the audio from the studio to not have any echo. And I got their contacts and kept asking for months. So I was not shy about asking people who know better about equipment. And that really, really happened. So if you're watching, guys from the Blues Studio, thank you so much. You have a lot, and I have a lot to learn yet because, as you guys know, the more you try to improve the quality of your work, the more you discover that you don't know anything about it. Yeah. You don't know anything about video, audio, streaming. And I used to say in my channel that streaming is a one-man television. You have to set up everything and make the decisions of what appears in the background, what appears in the foreground, which clothes do you wear, if you use glasses and have reflexes on your glasses, and everything is your choice and your labor, and it's quite demanding. I guess it's the word.
But also you don't get to share the alienation to an extent with anyone else. What do I mean by this is, like, if you're a team of like 25 people and are running a TV show and nobody shows up to watch your show, you can kind of go to the other 24 people and like hug and be like, yeah, we tried, it didn't work out. But when it's just you and the camera and nobody shows up, you're like, fuck, I suck so much. Which obviously never happens to your guest, but sometimes
I do the this all the time. I keep thinking, oh, it's my audio. It's the audio. The audio isn't as good, so people aren't watching. Oh, the video sucks. The lighting sucks, and usually it's not that, but the paranoia kicks in very often. But I really try to make everything better because the far right. I don't know how it is in Iraq and in Serbia, but in the US, I know that the far right has, well, at least Fox News has a professional 24/7, high quality television network
Oh yeah.
to produce the most
Absolute slop.
crazy
Garbage,
shit you have ever seen.
I
And
think that makes it even easier, in fact, because it's just such garbage. You can shit it out genuinely, as long as it's nice and polished.
Yeah.
Enough idiots will fall for it, or
No
people
fact checking required. Just do the
Yeah.
fire hose thing. It's undebunkable because there's
Gishgaloping,
so
yeah.
much of it. Yeah.
and that shows that polish really appeals to people.
Yes.
The polish it really gives you the impression that what the person is saying is really important, or at least it was researched.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to fight against this kind of content creation, because in Brazil we have full networks. They are like Netflix. It's like streaming services of far right, the most Nazi shit you've ever seen,
Yeah, like the
professionally
States.
made with
Yeah.
tons of resources, and we are doing stuff. We are creating content in our living rooms and our bedrooms and with what we have. So I'm trying to as Lenin said, I'm trying to not make everything so artisanally. Is that the word?
Yeah, exactly
It is,
right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to professionalize our content creation.
Yeah, and most of the funding, obviously, that left-wing content creators get is from the audience.
Soros.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Soros. Yeah,
And
the audience
50%
and
from
open
China.
society.
And Xi Jinping hits me up
Yeah.
every morning, right? But obviously, we, for example, in the States, it's very ironically class-conscious billionaires that invest a lot of money into far-right media and so on. Also, quite literally clerofascistic fucking psychos that are in the multimillionaire category, and so on and so on. We have episodes where we covered this, and you most definitely know about this. But how is it in Brazil? Who usually finances it? Is it like a mixture, just for example, like in the States, a mixture of just right-wing chuds, like guys that can barely afford bread, but they really want to send money to that guy that said that black people should be shot, plus very wealthy people? Are there what kind of what kind of types like to throw money at both the digital but also more traditional right-wing media?
Yeah, we have a couple of things to say about that, because the bourgeoisie in Brazil is very specific, because we do not have a particular industrial bourgeoisie. Brazil, as much of the third world, is deindustrializing. I don't know how to say that, but and so Brazil has a financial elite, a comprador elite, a bureaucratic bourgeoisie, and has the most strong one is the landlord bourgeoisie. So these three factions of the bourgeoisie finance different factions of communication. For example, I give you a very clear example in Brazil. The most listened to genre of music in Brazil is, what do you guess? What do Brazilians listen to the most, music-wise?
Rap.
Rap is very, very popular
Funk
here.
and stuff.
Funk is very popular here too. It's country music.
When I think Brazilian
country music.
Fuck you,
country music.
fuck off.
Country music is the
Interesting.
most listened to genre in Brazil, because the landowners buy every single fucking radio station everywhere. They buy the radio stations and push the music, because the music brings up their ideology, the ideology that they feed the country. As much as they don't, they produce they have one saying that the Brazilian agribusiness feeds 1 billion people in the world. The Brazilian agribusiness produces soybeans to feed pigs in China. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they use the music to push this ideology. We have songs that are number one in the charts that say that the poison that you use on the plants to keep the
Pesticides?
pesticides, exactly.
yeah.
Songs that praise pesticides, and pesticides that are forbidden in other countries. That's the
Holy
crazy
shit.
part. So
They're lobbying through literal music, and they've hyper focused on country. But are we talking like American style country, or did they
No, it's
develop like a
Brazilian style country.
local, like a folky type of stuff?
No,
Okay.
I'm just saying country to make an analogy, but
okay.
it's like countryside music, but the
Still.
style, the musical style is very different. It's very
extremely
different.
forward thinking, like ridiculously forward thinking, because it's not just investing, fucking talking heads, fucking constant yappers, but in literal
Yeah.
singers and songwriters that are going to kind of bring up the fetishization of this particular profession.
And I'll show some
aka
photos.
class.
The gigs of these big country singers are like fucking Paul McCartney gigs.
Wow.
So big, it's crazy, it's insane. And so people in abroad think, oh, Brazilians listen to samba, listen to funk, listen to rap. The most listened to in the deep country, which is most of Brazil, is country music because of the power of the agribusiness. But the financial elites and the comprador elites are the biggest financiers, are the biggest payers of those think tanks and production companies and streaming services that produce historically revisionist content that says the colonization is good for the country. The Portuguese brought Christianity and civilization and techniques and culture and high art and etc. I guess in the US is practically the same.
Yeah.
It's a revisionist point of view that says that dictatorship was good and necessary to contain the far left and the red menace in Brazil. And
Classic.
it's a revisionist historical point of view that says that slavery wasn't that bad and that Brazil is not racist today.
Yeah.
The racism is a thing of the past. It's very similar to the US because
Very
of the colonization.
Yeah.
It's very similar, the rhetoric. And there's one extra thing. Allying to the US and opening up to the US is the best thing we can do. It's another agenda that they push really hard. So it's like Milei is doing in Argentina. We're going to talk about Milei, I believe. It's the same thing, but the big compradors, the importers and exporters in Brazil, and the financial capital finance those think tanks and those media outlets that push for this agenda that is very, very predictable, to say the least.
Yeah. It's just completely unhinged that you can commodify an art form and then utilize it to pitch a particular class interest, and not only like do it semi so-called spontaneous. The ideology of the bourgeoisie spreads and seeps into every single other class of society. So people, like, okay, I'm gonna be a country singer / songwriter, and I've internalized this ideology, and I'm just going to spontaneously be making music that supports landowners, which I'm sure also happens, but also that it turns it into an actual process where they're like, okay, we need to spend this and this much money on this, let's call it medium, this art form, in order to be present in absolutely every single fucking thing, including music. It's just unhinged. It talks about the scale of the whole fucking thing.
You know how K-pop artists are built from the ground up by a machine, a kind of industry that is pre-planned. Country singers in Brazil are very much the same. There are organic singers that got popular locally and then grew, but there are many, I don't know if I can say industry plants, but people who are people who are built from the ground up, planning to be famous for specific reasons, support the agribusiness agenda, support the agribusiness ideology. This is very present. And our parliament, we have a bicameral system. There's the Senate and there's the deputy chamber. I think I can call it that. The deputy chamber has 516 deputies. 350 are from the agribusiness.
Wow.
It's they completely own the thing. They can push for anything, and then
it's feudal. Like, it is literally feudal.
It's crazy.
It's burghers and the noblemen, and
burgers.
No, my gosh, we lost the American. No,
oh Lord.
I couldn't resist.
As I said, they say that they feed the country, they feed the world, but they are mostly planting soybeans and corn to feed animals abroad, to make rations for animals. That's the main resource that Brazil produces. And Brazil is the biggest producer of coffee in the world, and we have the best coffee in the world. But us Brazilians, drink coffee that tastes like a forest fire. It's fucking awful, because the best coffee we export.
You export.
So
Yeah,
the coffee in the stores, the coffee is very expensive and tastes like shit. If you ever come to Brazil thinking you're gonna drink a good coffee, think twice. Really.
As a Balkaner, I can relate. The joke is you have great food until you join the EU market, and then Germans start eating good food.
Yeah, exactly,
but-
exactly. The French drink our good coffee, and it's really
I
crazy.
feel bad for the beans.
Yeah,
to be swallowed by a Frenchman.
isn't it crazy to think about French coffee or German chocolate? Have you ever seen a cocoa bean in the fucking planted in Germany?
Fucking Frankfurt, man.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Deprogram. Today, we have a highly demanded returning guest and friend of the show coming to us from what I like to call the hottest people in the world country,
Agreed.
Brazil. We have Ian. Exactly. We have
Thank you
Ian.
so much.
Let me introduce him. Also known as Historia Publica, a renowned comrade, historian, and fellow content creator. Please don't hold the last part against him. Welcome, Ian. How's life?
Thank you for the invitation. I would like to know if the last episode got the Brazilian gang on the comments, because Brazilians are very passionate about the
Brazil mentioned. Brazil mentioned.
Yeah, Brazil
Insane.
mentioned so
Go to
hard.
Brazil.
Insane. And we're so great. Like a lot also joined, like started financially supporting
Yeah.
us.
That's
a lot
great,
started
that's great.
spamming like a lot of like the episodes that came on. We have a lot of members even in the Discord of the Patreon and so on. There are Brazilians that came on when
That's really good.
we had you on last time. So not only do we have a great time with you, but we also get a bunch of beautiful.
We also owe you
semi-unhinged
money.
Brazilians, and we owe you money. Hey, I didn't. Yeah, okay.
That's
But
nice
no,
to hear, because,
absolutely, they do.
the Come to Brazil gang are really. I don't know if you saw what happened in the Oscars, because a Brazilian movie won the best foreign picture, and the social media. Every time the Oscars posted anything in any social media, it was just Brazilians saying, "Oh my god, if we don't get the Oscars, something bad will happen." The Brazilians were threatening the Oscars,
That's
and we got the Oscars, so the threats worked.
Yes,
Please keep doing it.
It's who said the joke? I don't know. It's a semi-reactionary joke, but I'll still make it, even at the risk of getting the ire of our beautiful Brazilian comrades. But they were like, "Why the Chinese firewall should not be removed? Because we would have Brazilians on steroids all
Yes.
night, like just bomb,
Yes.
like crazy."
Yes.
So yeah, but no, it's awesome.
The
I don't
Brazilians
think
on-
anybody
on the
minds
internet-
Brazilians online.
Yeah.
It's very non-toxic most of the time.
You're saying I don't actually know.
Okay.
I was just asking because I wanted to know if the people were able to join the international community, because I really think we should fight for more internationalized communication, especially. So I really like this podcast, because it's a Serb and a Iraqi and a state Tunisian, as we Americans like to say, a state Tunisian, and now a Brazilian. So it's every corner of the world.
That's the point, man.
Together, this is the fun part.
Yeah.
That was the original premise. Absolutely. And we're really glad somebody sometimes notices. And it's always a comrade that is not from the States. The others are even like, we have a lot of guests, brilliant comrades and so on, but from the States that I feel like sometimes the reaction is not the opposite. It's not negative, but it's like, what the fuck? Like, you guys, they're like, oh, but the Balkan guy and the Iraqi guy are not in the States. You're not like a fourth generation American
Yeah.
that's
Of
calling
course,
himself Iraqi or
But your
Serbian,
English is so
etc.
good.
Hakim hears this all the
Gosh.
time. Hakim is the worst offender in having good English.
Yeah.
Hey, gang. No,
someone-
look.
Go
This
on.
is the deal with it. All right, they for some reason like the evidence against them is there because I speak another language aside from English. So that's how I'm immediately not American.
You cannot be American. JT, when someone asks, "Where are you from?" Do you answer Texas?
Generally, yeah. And that's one
Yeah,
of the
that's why you're American.
Yeah, that's one of the only states that will do that, though. A lot of places, you might hear New York, California,
California,
and Texas.
definitely.
That's otherwise most people are like, oh,
Well,
I'm
what
from
about
the U.S. If they're
Montana?
like Wisconsin.
What's wrong
or
with
something.
Montana?
Nothing wrong with Montana. Beautiful country. Many people say so. But yeah,
That
it's,
is because they
all
don't
three of them?
exist.
okay. Poor Montanans. We love
They
you.
don't exist.
I do at least.
Those are invented places, especially New Jersey, that I've visited, and I've seen it. I've touched New Jersey, and I'm like, this is not real.
Come to
This is-
beautiful Southeast Dakota. It's like, well, that's not real. That's not real.
Oh, there's a North Dakota. Don't answer. I know, son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
geography lesson. But let's start out. Let's start out with the meat and potatoes of the show. There you go. We are already Americanized as shit. Statianized as shit. I apologize.
Yeah.
There
I'm
you
an
go. I
American
learned.
too.
Of course.
What kind of American?
South American, the best one. The best time.
My boy. But let's start out with some Brazil updates, right?
Yeah.
Let's start out with local news from your corner of the world. And holy shit, do we have a
Yeah.
lot since we last talked. Presidential assassination plots, fireworks, terrorists that blow themselves up, charges against Bolsonaro for trying to stage a coup in 2022, and a lot more. But let's start out small. How do you and local socialists view the Lula presidency for now?
Well, I cannot speak for every socialist, but I think I can represent.
Oh, no,
the
you have to. You're on a
Marxist-Leninists.
podcast. That's the point. You're on a,
Yeah,
podcast.
people. I'm just saying that because people are going to say
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
socialist and I don't think that. So
yeah.
I'm not speaking
Smart.
for every socialist. I think I can represent the Marxist-Leninist view pretty accurately, which is very specific. Socialist is very broad, and I am a Marxist-Leninist, so I'm going to talk mostly through this lens, Marxist-Leninist. I'll try to focus less on Lula individually as an individual and more on the failure of social democracy. And I think the social democracy can be defined not exactly as an ideology, but more as a political strategy. We have, I don't know how well known he is abroad, but we have a very famous communist in Brazil called Luiz Carlos Prestes.
Mhm.
Prestes was probably the most famous communist militant in Brazil ever since the Third International. He lived in the Soviet Union. He was trained in the USSR during Stalin's period. So he's very important for communist history in Brazil. And he used to say that the Workers' Party that Lula helped found, didn't have a particular ideology. And I think that's pretty accurate because social democracy doesn't have a particular ideology.
Mhm.
Their ideology isn't anti-capitalist, isn't anti-establishment, isn't anti-landlord, isn't pro anything or anti-anything. It's more a strategy. So what I want to say is that us Marxist-Leninists are seeing in the Lula government in the third term of his ruling the failure of social democracy again and again and again. And to be very brief, for people who study history more, we are living practically the Weimar Republic right now, Hitler included. So we're living the calm before the storm. If you get what I mean by saying we are living in the Weimar Republic. So as I am a historian, I wanted to give a little recap because people are not obligated to know Brazilian politics. So Lula, our president, is the founder of a thing called the Workers' Party. The Workers' Party is a left-leaning social democratic party founded in 1980. And in 1980, we were during a dictatorship installed by the US in Brazil. So the dictatorship was able to destroy every little part of the communist movement, and what was left of it, and a new movement that was forming through unions and especially strikes, founded this party in 1980. So the Workers' Party was a very highly organized and highly unionized party, especially when Brazil had many, still had an industry called its own. So uh, through this organization, Lula was able to be elected in 2002 as the president of the nation, 20 years after the founding of the Workers' Party. So from 2003 to 2011, we had the first two Lula terms, which were very popular, very popular. And we would have a third Lula term if if a third re-election was legal in Brazil. So he left with that popularity, and that was the Lula was part of something we call the pink wave in South America. And I don't know how common this term is, how well known this term is outside of South America, but the pink wave was a wave of social democratic elected presidents that swept through South America, except Colombia.
Mm.
So we had, I think the most well known besides Lula, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela was the first one. We had the Kirchners in Argentina. We had Lula. We had many others. I won't remember everyone. But why was it called the pink wave? Because it wasn't a red wave. It wasn't a communist wave. It wasn't a socialist wave. It was a pink wave. It was a progressive wave. So Lula was a part of it. And the thing was, right now, we are in the middle of a global recession. Capitalism is retracting, especially in the US. And the ruling class, as always, is making the working class pay for it, pay for the recession. So the thing that is essential to understand the first two Lula terms was he governed during an expansion of capitalism, especially in South America. So when capitalism is expanding, social democracy has much more leniency to work through progressive politics. So the most important policy that Lula installed in Brazil during his first two terms was how do I say this? The raising of the minimum wage every year. The minimum wage was raised every single year. That gave a brand
Massive
new
boost.
power, power of consuming to the working class, especially the lower working class. That was the most important policy that Lula made, among others. But the thing is, we know that in order to the Workers' Party, Lula's party, to rule, to govern, they had to build a majority in the government. And to build a majority in a country like Brazil is to ally with the right and even the far right to build a majority to approve his policies.
Yeah.
Remember that I said the Workers' Party was organized through unions. How do you put the unions to fight for workers' right whilst aligning with the right and the far right? Because think about it. Imagine you have to build a majority with the right to push for a policy. But you have a militant, organized, unionized base who is suffering, who want to push for more progressive policies. But if you put this base, this militant base on the streets to fight, you lose the base that you built on the parliament.
Yeah.
So you're fighting against yourself. That's why social democracy is a failed strategy. It isn't a particular ideology. This tactic is bound to fail. And it worked more or less during the first two Lula terms because capitalism was expanding in South America.
It could afford to work. Yeah.
Yes, because China was demanding a lot of Brazilian resources, especially metal and soybeans and corn and etc. Now, after 2008, and especially in Brazil after 2015, Brazil entered a recession that the bourgeoisie was not willing to give this leniency to any government at all. As I said, in capitalist crisis, who pays the bill is the working class. It's never the bourgeoisie. So now we are in a Lula term that he's trying to push for progressive policies while aligning with the right and the far right, but with a recession, a international, not only a international recession, but a global economic shift towards China, which bothers the US very, very much. And Brazil was more or less a non-combative country against the U.S. policies, as long as they weren't very how do I say extreme. Because in the beginning of 2002 to 2003, because a lot of countries in South America were part of this pink wave, the fight against U.S. policies was more bound to be successful. Now it isn't. So we have this critical state. The ruling class is pushing for more privatization, less workers' rights, more unemployment, amongst other things. And Lula has his hands tied because of his tactic. He is the victim of the social democratic tactic. So to wrap up everything that I said, we see Lula's government as a government of containment. And what do I mean with containment? He is slowing down neoliberal policies, but he's not fighting against neoliberalism. And this has always been the case. Lula was never a combatant of neoliberalism. He put the brakes on neoliberalism.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yep.
So now, with the Lula term, workers' conditions are a little better. But the question that we ask is, for how long? For how long? What will happen if Lula gets too old and cannot run for president next year? What will happen to us? The thing is, there is no way around it. Us communists believe that we have to reorganize those same unions, along with youth, social movements, anything that puts the worker in charge of the class struggle. If we try to dispute the institutions that were created to oppress the workers, we are bound to fail. We cannot take control of institutions that were created from the ground up to keep the worker under the boot of the bourgeoisie. We cannot dispute this. We may have leniency, but we cannot win permanently, because Lula won in 2002 saying that the main thing he wanted to fight was hunger. And now Lula won last in 2022 saying that the main thing he wanted to fight was hunger. 2024, sorry. So what the fuck? He's trying to fight the same fucking thing for almost 30 years. That's because anything that the social democracy strategy can achieve is always temporary. It's always temporary. If the workers are not in charge of the class struggle, the fight, the direct confrontation with the bourgeoisie, everything is bound to be dissolved when the next crisis comes, because it's a matter of when. Yeah, and the crisis is a matter of when. Capitalism has, as Engels taught us, has crises that are cyclical and are being closest to one another. Each crisis tends to be closer and closer until we get a full blown out war, which like the Second World War, and we are in the brink of a Third World War right now, as you may know very well.
And the only thing we're trying to do to it is put a plaster on top of a plaster on top of a plaster on a ever gaping wound, which is an allegory that probably I've used far too many times, but I think it applies.
It works.
And it's always very unfortunate, especially with social democratic types that utilize the social democratic strategy, as you've very eloquently put, because the sad part is the intention is usually very, very positive. But why do you think now we might be veering off the path a little bit, but is it lack of class consciousness, lack of understanding of just the relation between classes in a particular society, and then imperial relations between states, etc. Everything that I'm
Yeah.
going to say. So is it lack of knowledge of how systems work, and the fact that you need to completely change a system, overthrow it, etc., etc., or is so basically a little bit of ignorance, or is it more of when it comes to social democratic types, or is it more of a fear that changing too much too fast is going to be, let's use the terminology, too intense for the wider population, and therefore kind of icky, and I don't want to do it. So basically, do these people understand that everything needs to be overturned, but they don't want to do it because it causes too much chaos?
Yeah.
What is chaos? We can then talk about, but still,
Sure.
or is it because they just don't know? So they don't have enough material understanding of how systems work.
There are many ways to answer this because this is very interesting. When Lula first ran for president, it was 1989. He won in 2002. He first ran in 1989. He lost. Uh, when we analyze who he lost to, or in other words, who didn't vote for Lula, because Brazil is a country that has a poor majority. The poor people are the majority in the country.
Yeah.
So which part of poor people didn't vote for Lula? If we analyze who didn't vote for Lula in 1989, the most miserable people, the poorest of the poorest, did not vote for Lula. Why? Because the propaganda during the Cold War, still 1989, was that Lula was a communist in disguise. He said that he was a social democracy, but he was a communist in disguise. He wanted socialism in Brazil. And this feeling that you said, Hugo, that people were afraid of disorder and chaos, really struck with the poorest of the poor. So,
Yeah.
and why that is? It is because is it because ignorance? Not really. I don't believe that. It's the following: the industrial worker was more or less organized during the 80s, but the poorest of the poor in Brazil are what we call sub-proletariat, a below proletariat. What do I mean by that? It's people who try to sell their workforce and cannot find a buyer. So they have to do anything that they can. They, how do I say? How can I make an analogy? It's a very Brazilian thing. They polish shoes in the streets. They park cars. They
are self-employed entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
Fucking
they
right.
entrepreneurs. they sell candy on the traffic lights.
Odd jobs.
Yeah, this sub-proletariat, these people who are trying desperate to sell their labor and cannot find a buyer, are historically hard to organize. That's the hard part. So these people who are not organized were not part of the Workers' Party movement, because we, to this day, do not know precisely how to organize people who do not have a specific workspace and a specific how do I say, the category of work. Because a laborer in a factory is a laborer in a factory. The person who is living day by days, one day polishing shoes, another day selling candy, another day knocking on door to door, trying to find something to carry and receive money for the day. These type of people are very numerous in Brazil, very numerous. And they are really, really, really hard to organize. So this is the first part. There is a mass of sub-proletariat workers in Brazil who are really hard to organize. Really hard to organize. The second thing is, I am very Leninist in this aspect. The Bolsheviks were very clear about what they thought about social democracy in the brink of World War II. They thought, this is in the Third International Documents, they thought there are two ways to keep the workers from overthrowing capitalism. One, we all know, fascism, pure violence, pure violence. It's a police state with pure violence, with oppression, physical oppression. But the other way was social democracy. So that's why they say social democracy is the moderate part of fascism. because it keeps the workers from knowing that it's necessary to overthrow capitalism and not
Exactly.
control it or govern it. And why did they have this, I guess, radical point of view? Because the social democratic movement, especially in Germany, which was the archetypical social democratic party, and was very numerous, was giving the workers the illusion of progress. And this illusion kept the workers thinking that a full overthrow wasn't necessary. But it is necessary, because we Marxists know that crises in capitalism are cyclical. They tend to come back, and even closer. So what I think, to not be just critical here, what Brazil lacks today, and we are building it, we are trying to rebuild it. Brazil lacks a vanguard party in a very Leninist manner. What keeps the workers from falling into the illusion of social democracy is a very strong, well organized vanguard party. I am very what is to be done in this manner. And I think that the countries that weren't able to build a majority around a disruptive movement lacked a good vanguard party, or lacked a vanguard party at all.
Absolutely.
So I really think we have to build not only a mass movement, a unionized movement, a reorganize the youth, reorganize the anything we can put the worker in an organization, but have also a very good and organized and combative and professional vanguard party. This is very lacking in Brazil. This is very lacking in South America in general.
And in a lot of other places as well.
Yeah.
But I could not agree more. But it's with added context of the pre-proletariat, as you've put it very well, which is lumpens, but not just not lumpens only inside of the country, which make up such a large majority, which to an extent
Yeah.
really do make Brazil a very, very special case.
I avoided saying lumpen because I know this term is
it's something
controversial.
negative. Yeah, no, beautifully put. Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
is controversial because Marx didn't define very well
Yeah.
what is lumpen. So I use the term that the sociologists use in Brazil, which is sub-proletariat.
I like it. I like it more.
A party
genuinely.
that
Lumpen is very dehumanizing to an extent.
Yeah, it's very dehumanizing. And a party that theorized a lot of what I'm saying is the Black Panther Party, because the Black
Exactly. I
Panther
was just
Party
gonna
was working in the ghettos, and they saw the lumpen as they used the word as the new worker that had to be organized. The challenge was to organize the lumpen. So we Brazilians learned a lot with the Black Panther Party, a lot.
Phenomenal.
I just wanted to add something that I really appreciate about Ian's perspective. It's a very mature Marxian perspective in the intersections of different class groupings. What I mean by that is a lot of people never really graduate beside the very simplistic class divide. When we speak about the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, we don't mean two separate classes only. We mean two class constellations with many micro groupings underneath. The largest of which are the ones that we know of, like I guess colloquially or in like simple overview of the theory, which are the lumpen proletariat. In the case of the proletarian class, and with the bourgeoisie, it's the petty bourgeoisie or the petit bourgeois community. But amongst these is an entire spectrum of various other subclasses or subcharacterizations, and depending on which country you're in and which time frame you're in, then their relations of production differ. For example, the concept of a sub-proletarian element that exists in Brazil doesn't exist in the same way in Iraq. In Iraq, we have a kind of an upside down triangle when it comes to the bourgeoisie. We have a very small national bourgeoisie. We have a comprador bourgeoisie class that is almost entirely eliminated and transitioned into the national. And then you have the largest single class grouping outside of what passes for the continued existence of the peasantry, which are petty bourgeois small business owners. And I mean one person who works on their own, or they have a few family members, or at most like 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 people. It's very, very small businesses, entrepreneurial, quote unquote. And they have, interestingly, far less political influence than either the rural classes organized through their particular tribal or clan communities, or the national bourgeoisie, which exerts its power directly over the government in fairly corrupt ways, actually. And then it's a difference between the Balkans and the United States. That's why it's very important to always analyze the material relations or the objective relations to the means of production that you have, and also carry out a correct class analysis of your particular society. It's tiring work, but it's what allows you to it's what allows you to, using the Marxian jargon, and the final analysis come to a solution or an overview that is correct, and from that you can derive correct strategy. And in the case of Brazil, this takes the form of a requirement of the Vanguard Party. In the case of many other countries, it might not be particularly that way, so on and so forth. So do your reading and try to follow in that mind path, let's say, that Ian has very, very beautifully explained. It shows that you're a history teacher, very beautifully and clearly and solidly presented and laid out.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I wanted to add something about class, because we are seeing a new division, new class division in Brazil that is very prominent, which is the people. How do I say this? We call them Uberized because of Uber, because
Gig
of
workers?
the act
Yeah,
Uber.
gig workers,
How do we say that in
That's gig
English?
workers.
Yeah.
Gig work, yes, but it's gig through technology. Gig through especially cell phones, because most Brazilians do not have computers. They use cell phones to access the internet, and Brazil has, I think, one of the biggest apps of food delivery in the whole world, and a lot of subproletariats are using this food delivery app to make a living. So this is a specific class division, is a specific category who is presented to be very challenging to organize too.
As well, yeah.
And this is the challenge that we are facing right now, but we need to study and think about strategies looking to our material conditions, not transposing mechanically what the Bolsheviks or what the Chinese did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Very, very
And
beautiful quote.
and that, I think, is a great cutoff point for a more theoretical and material analysis of the current situation in Brazil. Now let's move on to the more events
This is the funny
section of it, and try and have some fun, even though a lot of these are like super fucked up, and I don't want to be, sitting back here and, like, to an extent orientalizing and being like, holy shit, look at how unhinged these things that are happening over in beautiful Brazil are. But it is a podcast, so it will always come off as that, with all due apologies in advance. So tell us the story about the assassination plot on the president's life. A bunch of military personnel were arrested for a plan from back in 2022, right? Or am I getting this
Yeah, it's 2022. It was when Lula won, and this is weird as fuck, because
wrong? Let's go.
it's so weird because to begin from the end, if Bolivia tries to invade Brazil, they will not have. We will not put too much of a fight, really, because the army tried to stage this coup in such a weird amateurish way, which is we have to laugh about it. The first thing we have to understand about Bolsonaro's presidency, was that we have a term called the party in uniform. I think I said this last time. We have in Brazil the party in uniform. I guess you are all familiar with the role of the military during the U.S. interventions in Latin America.
Yes.
The military.
And those
was
who aren't,
used...
go to the previous episode, please. Yes.
Yes, sure. The military was used as a tool to stage those coups to keep the Red Menace away. I believe Chile is the most known, because it was one of the craziest and most durable. That lasted for the longest time. With Pinochet. So here in Brazil, it's safe to say that the army makes up their own political party. This is the legacy of the dictatorship. They fiddle with politics even after the dictatorship ended officially. They never got dissolved or reformed. So it's also safe to say that the military is alive. The military dictatorship is alive inside the military still to this day. And Lula's successor was called Dilma. It was a woman, and Dilma was tortured during the dictatorship. And her term really pissed off the top brass, really pissed off, because she was the very first Brazilian president to really put the military in its place, to question their role, to look for justice, for transitional justice after the military dictatorship. So that's when Bolsonaro appeared as the ideal candidate for the military, because Bolsonaro was willing to defend, to make an eulogy to the worst part of the military dictatorship, because most of the widows of, as we say, widows of the dictatorship, usually say it was necessary, it was necessary evil. They say it was a necessary evil. Bolsonaro said everyone who got tortured deserved it, and the mistake of the dictatorship was not torturing more. He was willing to say that in public. So he was the perfect idiot for the army to control, and with the military to support him, Bolsonaro won the election in 2018. I'm summing up everything.
Yeah.
Bolsonaro was more or less a military puppet in his government. His government had more military personnel than the dictatorship. It
Holy
had
shit.
more military personnel inside Bolsonaro's government than it had military personnel inside the military dictatorship.
That's amazing.
So it
I'm
was
pretty sure most listeners do not know about this, and do not know
Yeah.
that the relation of power was the military basically installing him and then using them as a puppet, and not vice versa.
Yeah,
'Cause
and-
even a lot of like right wing like copers, sorry for interrupting you, are always like, look at how one strong man can unify both the military, the police force, the unify the classes, whatever the fuck that means inside of Brazil. Blah blah blah. At least the pitch I tend to hear from Western pro Bolsonaro guys, but which is complete bullshit, as you properly put. Yeah.
And a lot of Brazilians don't know this either, because don't know this also because the army is very works behind cameras. You know, they have experience with this type of conspiracy. You know,
Well, I would
So,
say it's a covert. Get it? Because army. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're gonna see how covert the military is, but they are used to working behind the scenes. You know, very used to it. So when Lula won in 2022, the military staged a coup to reinstall full control over the government. So the coup was 100% staged by the top brass. 100%. And it only didn't happen because the Biden administration did not support it, which is the very first time I have ever seen the US not support a coup.
Yeah.
The very first time.
Critical support for Uncle Joe. I keep
Yeah.
throwing a rock at me through the fucking camera right now.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It was because I guess the US thought the Bolsonaro was a little bit too erratic,
Yeah.
and so Lula
Yeah.
was easier to control, and they were right.
The PR would have been bad. That's the
Yeah,
dents.
PR
That's the
would
only
be
thing we
horrible.
care.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So the coup didn't work, and I guess you remember the invasion of the Supreme Court with the old lady shitting in the toilet. It was that thing that was staged by the military actually. So last year we discovered a file in a cell phone of a Bolsonaro employee, and this file had a plan to fucking murder the president, to kill Lula, and to kill his vice president, and to kill a Supreme Court minister.
Oh,
And the
wow.
plan was plotted by the military. Right after that, 5 people were arrested. 4 were, this is the good part, 4 were from a special forces division, a strategy division, the very high strategical, very spy ass
brain. Yeah.
thing from the
James Mondonero.
they were the division was called Black Kids. I do not know why they were called Black Kids. It is as funny to us as it is funny to you
I'm
English
sorry.
speaker.
Yeah.
So the plan was called Green and Yellow Dagger, which is tacky as fuck. Green and
They
yellow
love
are
their
the colors of
bro.
our flag.
Mhm.
Yeah. It consisted in monitoring, arrest, and execution of the president, the vice president, and a Supreme Court minister. And the plan was rough. it was rough. It was if the French Guiana is used to invade Brazil, I guess we are done. Seriously. They found a Microsoft Word document. It's the very high division of highly tactical intelligence strategy.
Why was it so
Microsoft Word.
bad?
A Microsoft Word document called 2002 2022 World Cup.
So, oh, nobody's
Do
gonna
not-
search for that.
very normal. Do not
Yeah,
read.
do not read very
Also,
normal.
like Brazilians obsessed with football. If there's a fucking file that everybody would open,
Why
I
not
don't
just
know.
write log.txt or something? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly, or
Virus
just random
.exe.
numbers.
Vi-
No,
virus
like,
dot AE.
very hot woman, very attractive hot woman file. Oh,
So
my
it
God.
was an MS Word document. I'm dead sure this is in the Microsoft Cloud. I'm dead
Yeah,
sure.
immediately goes.
It was called 2022 World Cup, and it had details about this was very weird about how much killing Lula would cost. It was like a spreadsheet.
accounting sheet.
They did a cost benefit
Yeah, it was
analysis on
accounting
murking the
sheet.
president.
It's got this much gas, this much bullets, this much
Wow.
food.
Of course,
They have to write.
What's
They
that?
have to write off the gas.
A line
Yeah,
item for the
sure.
4 bullets. Yeah.
And he had grenade launchers. I'm not joking. He had
Wow.
pistols and grenade launchers and poison.
Okay. in
nice.
case the
All
grenade
of
launchers
them, okay.
didn't do the job, they're
Just
gonna
in
miss
case.
him.
This is the best part. They tried to send this fucking Word document through the application of the army. The army has an application to send documents safely.
Yeah.
We have, because of this cell phone that got apprehended, they got seized. We have a message that said, the program is not working. The program is crashing. Let me send it to you. And he sends the document through WhatsApp. He sends the document
Classa.
WhatsApp,
Amazing.
the special division of the army. And he says, the program is not working. LOL. Which makes everything funny.
I love this.
Then this they create a signal group, stealthy. Signal is stealthy.
Very,
So
very.
they-
As
they
we've
create
now
a signal
seen
group.
from
OPSEC,
the
yeah.
U.S. State Department,
Yeah.
very safe. Nobody can get in. One of
Nobody
those.
can get in signal. So they create a signal group, very, very safer, much safer. And they, my lights are dying.
Oh, you're fine.
This makes you mysterious. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look great. You're fine.
They create the signal group, and the group had to buy something of a burner phone and have a fake identity, and everyone who entered the group had to put the name of a country. Like, do you know that series La Casa de Papel?
Yeah.
The Spanish series. So one is Japan, another is Brazil,
my
other
God.
is Austria. Of course, there's Austria.
Mhm.
But two guys enter with their names. They say, fuck this, and enter with their names. So there's Japan, Austria, Brazil, Ghana, and two names.
Mike and Bob. Mike and Bob.
Yeah, it's
That
like
wasn't
Mike
the
and
plan.
Bob.
God damn it! What do
It's
you
like
mean?
Mike and Bob. And
then what do you mean, Philip? He
Yeah,
replies to Berlin by calling him his name.
And I believe one of my either Mike or Bob did something that this is the creme de la creme. This is extraordinary. This dude, he needed a fake identity.
Mhm.
So he got the driver's license of a guy who crashed on his car, which is brilliant.
Like, yeah, with the
He
second
had
you get
a picture of the guy's driver's license. He used the identity of the guy who crashed on his car.
Mhm.
Then he asked for
because
his
he
wife.
had it. Oh my!
He
So
asked
wait,
for
he
his
had the
wife.
photo because he crashed with that guy at some point, and
The,
took
the
a
guy, the guy crashed on his car. They argued, and he got the driver's license of the guy and used to try to kill the president. His identity. Imagine you hit a guy's car in the street as an
JT,
accident.
bro. Somebody hits JT's car. He's murdering Donald Trump in his name,
Yeah,
bro.
exactly. It's like JT hit someone's car and he appears murdering Donald Trump.
Parody.
Exactly that.
Parody.
Somebody hit JT's car, please.
But it gets better. It gets better.
Parody.
The guy,
We disavow.
the guys, they needed burner phones, right? So the guy asked his wife to buy a burner phone. Where did she went? On the corner of their house.
Just,
Of course.
Just turn around the corner, went to buy a phone.
oh god.
And you buy a Xiaomi, Samsung. She bought a last generation iPhone. She bought the best iPhone she could
Yeah,
find.
The fuck
I
is
just want to. When I go on trips with these boys, the things I make them do,
Yeah. Yeah.
how everything.
Hakeem could pull this off. Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Are these people so incompetent?
Be grateful
Sorry.
Hakeem wasn't the one after your president.
Oh my God.
I'm very glad you're enjoying the story as much as we Brazilians did. Seriously.
that's incredible.
This is gonna sound really weird, but do the black kids have a record of being incompetent?
Okay, in English is much funnier.
It's
Sorry.
much worse in English. Yeah.
Much worse. Do the black kids have war?
Is the intelligence community generally this incompetent? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
There is a division of the intelligence, which are people who have to. How do I say this? They have to make a test and to enter. So they have to be smart. So this division is professional. It's professional. We have something like an FBI in Brazil.
They're called
And
white kids.
They are not the white kids, unfortunately. So, but the professional division with people who are professionals are very competent. But
Okay.
the special divisions of the army is very amateurish. Very
Ah,
amateurish. It's
okay.
very strange, actually.
Hmm.
She bought the last generation iPhone, and she left the equivalent of his social security number in the store. Then she registered 2 emails. One was the email that he used on the Signal group. The other one was his name, her name, loveforever@gmail.com.
It's kind of cute.
That's amazing.
It's great. This guy is this is
Modern
perfect.
Romeo and Juliet, bro.
Wow.
Then
my God.
we don't actually know why they didn't go ahead with the plan, but we have messages that say, I am in the position. He probably was in the position to either arrest or monitor or someone. Then the other guy, I think he's called Ghana or something, says abort mission. And then he says, I'm going to go back. Then a while, I cannot find a cab, lol. The guy was using cabs. You know how it is this time of the night. I cannot find any cab, lol. The guy was trying to kill, go back by cab.
Oh my!
What the fuck is this?
Sticking the rifle in the trunk. Nice.
Oh,
There's a grenade launcher.
But and now the plan was they would kill Lula with poison because he's old. That is written on the document. He's old. He'll probably die by poison. That was, and I cannot blame them for the logic
Train of
behind
thought,
it.
yeah.
That's the smartest thing they've said in the whole thing. Yeah.
But especially the Supreme Minister is more or less young, so they wanted to use an explosive artifact, according to the document, which I think is a grenade launcher.
Okay.
I want to believe that it is the grenade launcher. And what we know now is that Bolsonaro knew about everything. We have a lot of proof that he know, and he's being judged by it. He's being judged by it exactly this moment. He's being judged all the week by the Supreme Court. And I myself don't know the results yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish the podcast and go look for the results because I don't know
Crazy.
what they are. But if Bolsonaro gets arrested, we might expect a second carnival in Brazil, at least for me. So, Carnival is our biggest party. We
Yeah.
will have 2 carnivals.
Or you
great.
might get a Brazilian Mein Kampf written by him in prison.
Oh, God.
You never know.
I do not think he's competent enough to write a book. But
Even
Hitler
for that
wasn't.
shitty book.
If you ever had the opportunity, the misfortune to read Mein Kampf, it's
Yeah,
really badly written. He repeats itself all the time. He
Yeah.
repeats himself all the
So
time.
It's just feelings. It's so funny.
It's
like,
just feelings
such
and
hard
very
man.
repetitive.
We're such
I-
hard.
He forgets what he wrote and writes again. So the book is big, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
Because and actually it's just vibes.
But, yeah,
what
at
he was
least
feeling.
It was absolutely. At least Hitler was, I guess, physically healthy enough to finish it. But
Yeah,
Bolsonaro
Bolsonaro
would have to stop every
immediately
single
die.
time.
The sickest
He
man
gets
in
a
the world.
KFC associated disease. But okay.
that was the
Phenomenal.
assassination attempt
You
against
need to
Lula.
make this into a movie.
That's remarkable.
I
That'd be so
will
really
be a
hope
movie.
it becomes a movie in the future.
But a comedy, it will be such a good comedy. It will be a
It would
phenomenal
be a great comedy. Us Brazilians are good with comedy, so I'm really looking forward for the comedy to release in the theaters and the Brazilian public to harass the Oscars.
Hey,
Hell
there
yeah!
we
And
go.
then you Oscar Brazilian, but phenomenal. But like, to the surprise of our listeners, this is not where stories about unhinged dudes that don't know what they're doing, trying to kill people in the beautiful country of Brazil ends. My friend Ian, what about I'll just call him the fireworks guy, the greatest right-wing paramilitary to ever live and die, I guess. I mean, I know it's a human being. I'm sorry that I'm laughing,
No,
but come the fuck on.
man, I have to tell a story. Last year, I went to China. The Communist Party invited me to visit China, and it was incredible. And I
What
made
the
a
fuck?
lot of
That's sick as
yeah,
shit.
it was really cool, and I learned a lot about China. And I made some new friends and made contacts. So one beautiful morning, I wake up and a Chinese guy is asking me on WeChat, which is their app for communication, what in the ever living fuck is going on in Brazil? And I didn't know what he was talking about. So I went looking up. I opened up the newspaper, and apparently something or someone had exploded in front of the Supreme Court. And guys, what happened was the Chinese dude was really worried because Brazil would be hosting G20 like 2 days from that day. So he was like, is Brazil safe for people? And it is really hard to as a Latin American, it is really hard to convince a Chinese guy that we don't really care about the dude exploding. But it is really hard to explain. He's Chinese. He's worried about serious things.
Yeah.
So what happened was a dude approached the Supreme Court building. It's a very broad building. It has nothing around it. And it has a statue of justice, the classic statue of justice.
Mm-hmm.
He approaches the building. My lights died. So
That's
It's
okay.
the stories are so good. It's a grimace thing. Now you need
Yeah.
to start
Yeah.
talking very seriously. Like I'm fucking with you. No, please.
I'm gonna put a light below my chin
Like
to make
underneath.
everything.
The spooky light.
This dude came. We see in the security cameras. He approaches the building and he throws a batch of fireworks at the building.
Mm-hmm.
The batch of fireworks explode. Then he throws another, which doesn't explode because it was raining. I think it got put out by the rain. Then he lights a third one, lays down, and explodes his own head. Which is at the time when he died, everyone thought that he had thrown the batch of fireworks at the statue. It bounced off the statue and killed himself, which was way funnier actually,
Yeah.
because
Boink,
what actually
boink.
happened? Yeah,
Did you have to add
Looney
boink,
Tunes.
boink, boink,
It
like
was
clown
Looney Tunes
music
ass
in the
shit,
background?
but it was actually very much weirder because he lights up and he puts in his face and explodes his own cranium. So it was really weird.
So he
And-
offed himself?
Yeah, he killed himself on purpose.
Oh shit!
And the weirdest part is the dude was 60 years old and he was dressed as the Joker.
Oh my
Of
god.
course.
He was
Okay.
dressed as the Joker, which makes everything more psychedelic.
Yeah.
And what happened? What the fuck? How do I explain this to a Chinese guy and that we don't really care? It's beyond me. But,
Society.
Yeah.
So we live in a Chinese dude. We unfortunately live in a society. That's my answer. The guy was an old businessman from a very very conservative town, and he got caught up on those Facebook groups that are very similar to the US groups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the far right conspiracy theory, QAnon, alt right. The frogs are turning gay. There are
5G cancer, all that stuff. Vaccines.
Yeah, 5G cancer, HARP antennas, and what was the latest one? The transgender hamster. What the fuck was
That's new. I haven't heard that one.
it was the transgender hamsters. The $8 billion to transform to make transgender guinea pigs. I think I don't
Hell yeah.
remember.
That
But
rocks.
the guy was like, he was talking to himself on his WhatsApp groups, and he said that he was trying to save the country, and he was going to do something great for the country,
Mhm.
and he couldn't stand the Supreme Court anymore because it was a dictatorship. That's the agenda right now, to say that Brazil isn't a democracy anymore because of the Supreme Court, which is very similar to the US. I think there are Supreme Court ministers which Trump doesn't like, and
Yeah.
he calls them dictators. Isn't it the same?
Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
the very sad part about it was that people who knew this guy saw him going from normal guy to crazy conspiracy
Yeah.
theorist, and the biggest victims of these groups are old people
Mhm.
who are lonely, who have lost their purpose, who think they have to do something great, and they find a purpose on those groups that are riddled with conspiracy theorists. And the most extreme part was a guy blowing his own cranium in front of the Supreme Court, thinking that he would become a martyr or something. It was really strange. And the name of the guy was Uncle France. I don't know why it wasn't his name. He called
Aw.
himself Uncle France.
Yeah.
So
The
if you
Uncle went full
Google
Joker.
Uncle France, you will find his cranium blown up. The first picture is his skull all fucked up.
Jeez.
So
It's
don't do
really
that, I guess.
really
Well,
morbid,
that's-
to
I
say the
don't know.
least.
Morbid, yeah.
So with these, out of personal curiosity, these groups in the U.S., these Facebook groups, there's very much a kind of end times thing with them, where like as people get older and especially conservatives, they begin to kind of ascribe to these like, oh, you know, the second coming is near, or that sort of
Yeah.
thing, to make their lives feel more, I guess, make themselves less afraid of dying, like their
Death,
time is
yeah.
coming to an end, therefore everyone's time must be coming to an end. That makes me feel better. Is that the case in Brazil as well?
I don't see that that often. The thing with the rapture.
Yeah,
It's
the rapture,
something
yeah.
like a rapture. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't see this that often. What
Mm.
we see more is we are in a dictatorship.
Mm.
We are in a
Yeah, yeah.
dictatorship. People are going to take away our personal freedoms. Elon Musk is a celebrity in Brazil.
Oh yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
celebrity. It's a person that has been treated by the far right as a savior,
Mhm.
a angelical savior. It's really strange. And what I see the most is the we are in a dictatorship rhetoric more than the rapture is coming. I think
Yeah.
I don't ever see the rapture is coming as a rhetoric, even
I
in the
think that's
churches.
I think that's a particularly American phenomenon, the evangelical bent to it. Same for the support for Israel also stems from the end times thing. They think they're speeding up the coming of the end times by their to the hilt support of Israel. It's a very fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah, because the rapture will happen when the Jews go back to Israel, or something like that. I don't ever Brazilian conservatives obviously support Israel, but not for that reason. They support. We see Brazilian people saying that they support Israel because it is a Christian country. It's that level of
Wow.
misinformation. It's this level of misinformation.
They only
it's
knew what
really-
happens. They only know what
Yeah.
happens to
To
Christians.
Christians, yeah,
Yeah, rip.
including in Gaza. Yeah, for fucking shit.
Mhm.
But okay, let's move to colder and less greener pastures of South America. We had a topic about Bolsonaro, but we already covered this guy more than he deserves. So let's talk about his protege to an extent. Speaking obviously of Bolsonaro, it's impossible not to think about his inferior copy, currently plundering the crypto masses of Argentina. How are they doing? I heard a specific crypto coin was about to liberate them from the yoke of authoritarian Stalinism in the form of the nanny
Wow.
state.
In Brazil, we get a lot of news from Argentina, but not for very good reasons.
Mm.
the financial elites in Brazil are very proud of Javier Milei because they think that what he's doing is what we should have been doing in Brazil ever since Bolsonaro got him on the presidency. So we see a lot of praise for his policies in the media all the time, all the time. Uh, Sometimes it's just plain lies, like the poverty is reducing. It isn't.
Trust me, bro.
Some,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like don't go looking for it. It is reducing. Don't go looking for it. But the weirdest ones are like something like people will die, but it is a sacrifice Milei is willing to make. People
Lord
will die,
Farquaad
but
looking
it
ass,
needs
yeah.
to be done. The thing is, as any libertarian, Milei got involved with crypto bros. I think it comes with the package. Being
Yeah,
a
yeah.
libertarian, no step on the snake
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
it comes with the crypto thing. So he got involved,
And not
with,
just the crypto thing, the specific like ultra scammy aspect of it.
yeah,
Of
the
like
scammy, not
like
the
rug
Bitcoin
pully
aspect,
shit. Yeah, yeah.
the
Yeah,
worst crypto coin you've ever seen in your life. And what could go wrong? A president of a country
exactly.
being a crypto bro.
What could
We
go
saw
wrong?
that with Bukele in El Salvador, who put the
Absolutely
geothermal
nothing.
power units to mine Bitcoins, which is just splendid.
Yeah.
And what happened was Milei was a part of a huge scam that was the classical pump and dump. The classical pump and dump. He promoted a crypto coin called S Libra, or money symbol Libra. I don't know how to say it. With millions of followers, the price went up. The original holders sold their coins, and then the price plummeted. Classical. The weird thing was, the owner of the company that launched the crypto coin is a guy called Hayden Davis, the typical crypto bro. And supposedly some messages of Hayden Davis leaked, and they were strange, to say the least. First, he says that anything can make Milei do anything by reaching his sister. I don't know if you know this, but he has a little bit of a Sweet Home Alabama relation
He
with
wants to
his
plow
sister.
that field, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He wants to keep it in the family, brother.
like his sister is the how do I say this? The first lady, which is
Yeah,
weird.
that's whack.
Really weird. And he says anyone can bribe his sister to make Milei do anything they want. Then he proceeds to say something that is hard to say, because he says, "I control that." You know those gentlemen who were in Paris. You know those fine gentlemen who used to be in Paris.
Yes.
He says, "I control those gentlemen. I
Jeez.
control that gentleman." So, replace the word gentleman with people who used to be in Paris, according to Kanye West and Jay-Z. And so the messages are not confirmed to be real, but the actions are very much real. This guy got into the presidency, got a hold of the presidency, influenced Milei to make a huge pump and dump scam. Huge pump and dump scam. But the thing is, Milei, many people said, Milei will be impeached. Milei isn't going anywhere. The financial elites of Argentina and the US need Milei. He isn't going anywhere. Argentina is in the biggest crisis of their history, probably, and they're using Milei as the classical fascist to push for more exploitation of the working class and to contain the rage of the rage of the working class with rhetoric, with the anti-establishment rhetoric, with how do I say this? Putting the blame on groups that have nothing to do with it. And it is important for the US because the US see the United States seeing Milei something that is very important: the weakening of BRICS. So Argentina did not enter BRICS because of the Milei presidency. For the US, this is a huge victory. A huge victory. It's a way to spread an anti-BRICS rhetoric all throughout Latin America, having a very faithful puppet. It's Milei. Milei is a US puppet, as any libertarian to be honest. So Milei can do whatever the fuck he wants. He isn't going anywhere. And lately, he has been beating the shit out of old people because of how do I say the money that you get a bit after you work? I don't know the name. Pensions, exactly. He's reducing pensions, and the pensionists, I don't know how to say, the retired old
Pensioners, yeah.
folks,
Mhm.
pensioners are going to the streets, and he is throwing the police to beat the fucking shit out of the old people.
Jeez.
And it's what we used to say. It's reducing the state, except the police.
Mm-hmm.
Thatcher did the same thing. It's minimal state. We are against the state, except when it came to sending the
The stick.
police over the works. Then
Yep.
it's maximum
Police
state.
and the military.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. And Argentina, to an extent, can be used also as a relative testing ground for the Americans on what is a relatively brainwashed population willing to accept as a pitch to everything will get better through highly intense deregulation that obviously
Yeah.
the Americans are doing, and especially now under the Trump administration. But not, I don't think anybody's done it at the speed
No.
that Javier Milei managed to do. So maybe if it works over there, that can be something that can be replicated domestically. Same like the
It's like they did with Chile, with
Mhm.
Pinochet.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
The same thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And as they are doing with the development of for borderline, not borderline, literally genocidal police state over in Gaza, which then can
Yeah.
potentially be replicated domestically, etc., etc. But speaking of unhinged groups, that of course we are very big fan of. Please, I love you. I do not want to be on live leaks. Narco cartels have been, some of them at least, defined as terrorist organizations, a gateway into American boots on the ground, interventionism in Central and South America, or is it a necessity for combating highly advanced crime syndicates? What do you think?
This subject interests me very much because I think that the people from other parts of the world don't understand don't understand fully what the war on drugs is. So to put it mildly, it's we can make an analogy with the war on terror. We know that the war on terror is not a war on terror. It's something extra. Do terrorist groups exist? Yes. Do drug cartels exist? Yes. Is the war on terror and on drugs just that, the good versus evil war? No. It's a way for the US to push certain foreign politics. And this has a little bit of history behind it. The thing is, the war on drugs is not that simple. It looks simple because drugs are bad and drugs lords need to be fought. But the problem is, drug cartels have everything to do with US foreign policy.
Mhm.
And to make a long story short, the US maintains the structure of drug trafficking on purpose. This is the first thing that we have to know. Drug trafficking and drug cartels exist because the US maintains it on purpose. It's very useful. And to understand this, we need to recap a little bit. As we said, Latin America had many dictatorships, military dictatorships. The main reason was explicitly to fight Soviet influence, especially after World War II. So the US used this as a rhetoric, as an open rhetoric, especially Reagan after. Um, they needed to fight the Red Menace, simply put. But during the 70s, the Soviet influence started to dwindle a little bit for many reasons. Soviet revisionism, later policies after Gorbachev, so the thing went off the rails completely. And so fighting the Red Menace didn't seem like a very, it didn't seem like a rhetoric with a lot of longevity. It needed to change. So during the 70s, President Nixon starts what we know today as the war on drugs. Nixon was the very first president to bring local policies, especially in California, I believe, to a national policy of combating drugs as a front of the line policy. And especially Reagan used this policy to its full potential of brutality, especially against black people in the US, in the ghettos. But the thing is, they started to use this rhetoric, replacing the old red menace rhetoric with the war on drugs menace, with the drug cartel menace as a rhetoric. And this, the first episode that we know that started to use this more explicitly was the Nicaragua affair. I don't know if you are familiar with the Iran-Contra affair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dead sure that Hakim knows everything about it because it had to do with the Iran-Iraq war. And the Reagan administration, whilst brutalizing the black population during the crack pandemic, the crack epidemic, sorry, outside the US was using drug cartel money to fund both sides of the war, the Iraq and Iran, and to fund the Contras in Nicaragua to to suppress the Sandinista revolution. So this was the beginning of it. To this day, the US uses the war on drugs to justify the intervention in many countries, especially Mexico, Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela, and more recently, Ecuador, which is something that if you want to understand where is this going, search for some news about Ecuador, what is going on in Ecuador. Ecuador, the center of gravity of drug trafficking is slowly shifting towards Ecuador because of Petro, because the negotiations of the in Colombia, because of the Maduro government in Venezuela, of many reasons. But I don't know how much this got known, but Ecuador went through a series of assassinations in broad daylight. Deputies and candidates got killed in broad daylight by the drug cartels, one after the other. It was really strange, and the US is already using this to justify an intervention in the building of a military base in Ecuador. What do they want in Ecuador? They want to control the lithium reserves in Ecuador, and they want to build a, how do I say this? A fortress around Venezuela. They want to
contain it,
to contain Venezuela. To the same thing that they do with Russia, to
encircle,
to circle around Venezuela, to isolate and put pressure on Venezuela. And so the very worrying thing that happened yesterday or today was the president of Ecuador asked the US for help. And this is very worrying because we know what this help is.
Yeah.
This help is intervention. And the US media outlets are already saying that the Ecuadorians are begging for the US to intervene in their country to save them from the drug cartels. And I'm not saying that drug cartels aren't real, that they are not dangerous, that the drug lords make up a kind of parallel bourgeoisie. This all is true, but the US has nothing to do with combating it. They don't fucking care. They use this as a rhetoric. At the same time as in the Middle East, terrorist organizations, fundamentalist organizations exist. They are dangerous. The US has no interest in combating it. They use the Taliban, they use the Al-Qaeda, they use what happened in Syria right now. The guy who's in charge is a former Al-Qaeda member. So they don't give a flying fuck about the how terrorist, how extreme they are, as long as they are useful and they justify intervention. That's what's happening in Latin America. And the analysts in Brazil are reading this affair that is happening in Ecuador as something that is going also to hit Brazil with this shift in the center of gravity of drug trafficking. Why? The main entrance of drug trafficking in Brazil is the Amazon forest. So the Amazon forest is already the main way in of drugs in Brazil and way out. And it's very used by the factions. In Brazil, we don't call them cartels, we call them factions. It's used by the factions. The biggest faction is from São Paulo, actually. But there are big factions in Rio de Janeiro also. And what the analysts are predicting is that this shift towards Ecuador is going to make drug trafficking in the Amazon much more intense, which is very worrying because the drug traffickers are using Elon Musk's internet to communicate in the Amazon. They are using Starlink, mobile internet, satellite internet to communicate easier. So thanks, Elon Musk. You are doing a great job in assisting wood traffickers, exotic animal traffickers, the invasion of indigenous land, and drug trafficking in the Amazon. Congratulations, you really are the Iron Man of our generation.
Jesus.
I mean, yeah, it works with the Tony Stark weapons manufacturer, though. The parallel is
Definitely.
not that bad. How are the cartels or the factions when it comes to Brazil reacting? If there's even any information on this, of course, on this development, because yes, absolutely, every single point you made, I could not agree more. But to an extent, only in order to appear as if they're doing something, they might start cracking down a bit more intensely, potentially, on it, or maybe not. Maybe the factions or the cartels are just calling bluff, and they don't really give a shit if they're titled as terrorist organizations, because it's only the domestic working people are going to feel it. Will still continue business as usual.
The thing is, it's really funny to analyze the Trump rhetoric because he fused the anti-terrorist rhetoric with the
Yeah,
anti-drug
yeah, yeah.
rhetoric, creating a megatron of rhetoric. Like it's war on terror and drugs at the same time. So, uh, but the way the factions are reacting to it in Brazil, I'm going to be honest, I don't know, because the information is very hard to come by, very hard to
Absolutely.
come by, and it is really dangerous to go looking for it. So I
Yeah.
fiddle with it. I'm not joking. I fiddle with it in the past, and I I got threatened, to say the least,
Damn.
because you remember that I said the biggest faction in Brazil uh, is from São Paulo. It's not only the biggest one, the biggest faction, but it is a monopoly in São Paulo. There are no rival factions in São Paulo.
And factories,
So
probably, if you know what I
yeah,
mean. But yeah, yeah.
but they control almost all the prison system from inside out. They control every single drug that comes in and comes out. They control even the assassinations that they do
Yeah.
with impressive precision because they are a monopoly. So the time that I tried to talk about the history of this faction, it wasn't fun, to say the least.
Yeah.
It
I'm
was not fun.
sorry.
The messages that I received were not fun. So I think probably as you said, I love you guys. You are awesome. You're very beautiful. You have great hair.
The best.
Exactly.
Oh, and phenomenal. I could not agree more. Very nice. Very much love. But yeah, and that kind of can lead us into the final topic of today. Thank you very much for your time. A semi naive question, honestly, but still one that I have to pose, the one that we have to pose. Mexico and other administrations have somewhat bravely responded to Trump's immigration and tariff policies. At least it's covered that way in
Yeah.
Western, more liberal press. Do you feel like there's an ever-growing understanding? I mean, to an extent, you've already answered this with the other points, but is there an ever-growing understanding in most places below Texas that working with the Yanks is absolutely idiotic at this point, or is there just too much ingrained American power and influence for that conversation to even start?
Uh, we can analyze this topic by uh, analyzing more or less what the governments of Mexico and Colombia are right now. Colombia has Petro, which is the very, very first left leaning president that Colombia has in its history, in recent history. And remember that we talked about the military dictatorships again. I'm Latin America. This is a topic that keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Colombia was, I guess, it was the only country in South America which did not have one because it didn't need to.
Mm.
Colombia has elected left, leaning, right wing politicians ever since the 50s. So Petro is the very first left leaning politician. In Mexico, recently elected Sheinbaum, which is the successor of Lopez Obrador. And so Mexico is going in a streak of social democracy candidates winning elections. And what I think they are doing by positioning themselves, it's not exactly positioning them against Trump. And I know
Mhm.
it sounds weird, but they are positioning themselves against the far right in their own countries,
Hmm.
which is saying that the far right in Colombia and Mexico, as in Brazil, is very pro US policy. So by confronting the rhetoric of Trump, and it's just rhetoric, guys, it's just rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But by
that's the key. Mhm.
choosing to confront on the television and the newspapers, by sharing these thoughts with the public, they are positioning themselves not against the U.S. but against Trump and against the far right movement inside their own countries.
Mm-hmm.
So we have
Classic.
to
EU
understand
does the
that.
same shit. Yeah, yeah. I see where you're
What
going. Mhm.
who does the same thing?
No, the EU to an extent wants to like sit on both chairs and is like, oh my God, America, we fucking love you, American people, we
Mm.
love you, the American
Yeah,
establishment, we love you.
exactly.
It's just this current administration that is unhinged. We know
Mm-hmm.
you will
It's
become
the same
normal
thing.
again, so we don't want to cut our ties completely. But during this administration, we will be a bit stricter. Blah blah blah. It's literal fucking cuckoldry. But don't
And
get
it's
me
very
started.
easy to see that
Yeah.
because the Trump posture with the deportations was very theatrical,
Mm-hmm.
because the deportations didn't increase. He didn't deport more people. He just did it in a more flashy way. So uh, a theatrical posture from Trump received a theatrical response from Scheinbaum and Petro
That's
to
beautiful.
position
Mhm.
themselves politically in the discourse. But I can assure you, both Mexico and Colombia have no intentions to oppose the US in economic policy. They aren't opposing and they have no intention to do so because they cannot do so. And let me prove it to you. You know what happens to a country when they try to oppose the economic policy of the US? We can look
Venezuela.
at Cuba. We can look at Venezuela. Those countries, just the more obvious examples. Cuba got blocked and is still blocked and got invaded by the US.
No.
Venezuela got blocked, and the blockade has killed more than 100,000 people. Just the blockade. This is what happens when a country tries to oppose not only the rhetoric, but the policy, the economic policy of the US. Venezuela in South America is the last country that is standing in its ground against the US imperialism as it is standing against the economic intervention, and they're paying a huge price for it. It is only standing because they have massive support from the workers. They have communes, they have occupied factories, they have organized unions, and they have the army on their side. This is what makes Venezuela stand out. The Brazilian army is totally pro US policy. The Venezuela army was a product of the Bolivarian socialist
No.
movement, which was started by Chavez. So this is what keeps Venezuela standing against U.S. policy. But they are paying, as Cuba, they are paying a very, very huge price for it. So I can assure you guys, it is more of a positioning against imperialism in the discourse. But exactly as Hugo said, we have nothing against the US. We have against this guy. This guy is a problem. And they are positioning themselves against the far right movements inside their countries. This is very
Very
important.
important
Eh,
caveat. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't
this is
think
very
about
important
it.
because
That's very smart. Yeah.
this is very important for us Brazilians because Lula is not doing this. And this is what pisses us off. Oh, Petro and Scheinbaum aren't doing much. Lula is doing nothing.
Mm.
They aren't doing much. We are doing nothing.
Yeah.
So at least we won it because Lula in his first term he would stand up against the U.S. more often. But he had Chavez, he had Kirchner, he had Evo Morales too in Bolivia. He had support from fellow South American presidents. So he's not an isolated voice. Now he's more or less fighting against the current. And again, as I said in the beginning, in a recession, in an internal recession. So his margin of rhetoric or of policy is much less broad,
Mm.
much
Yeah.
tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, but couldn't agree more. Thank you very, very much, Ian. I think this is going to be one of the most favorite episodes. I know, JT, don't look at me. Most favorite. I know what I said. The
No,
most
that's right.
favoritist, the
No,
most
favorite.
ultra
You're right.
favoritist, because of the grammar, not of
Yeah.
what I said.
Most favorite is
Not,
not right.
yeah, because it's already
It is
favorite.
right.
It can't be
I mean,
even
you can
more
be you
favorite.
can do superlative. Yeah, it's fine.
But no, but you can't do
He
superlative
busts
on
out
the
the
already
Are we
superlative.
gonna end this
superlative.
episode with a grammar lesson? Yeah, you
Oh,
can
son
do
of a
most
fucking.
favorite.
Bust out the superlative. What else do you want to teach us, white man?
Well,
Yeah,
sit down and let me lecture at you.
This is you're attacking my space, okay? But no, jokes aside, thank you very much, Ian, for coming on the show. It was absolutely brilliant. Everybody, please check out Ian's work. All the links will be in the description. Ian, would you like to plug anything additional? Any sort of exciting things that you might be working on, et cetera, so that people can get hyped?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's very good to be back in the Deprogram. I hope this episode has as much Brazilians in the comments as the
Let's
last one had.
go.
Inshallah.
And as I said, I am a militant in a communist and Marxist-Leninist organization called Soberana, which means sovereign in Portuguese. And we are currently uh, working in two fronts, reaching more people through communication, organizing professional communication in the internet, and organizing workers. So we have we founded uh, a mixture of a union with a cooperative to organize especially workers that use the internet as a tool for their work. So nowadays, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but in Brazil, for example, school teachers nowadays use Zoom and Google Meets a lot to teach. Lawyers use Discord and Zoom to work, also to talk to their clients. Doctors use, psychiatrists use. So we are seeing uh, Uberization, a gig economy, on on professions that used to not be of gig economy. And the thing is, those people are also getting really hard to organize as a category, as a group. So we are using the internet to reach those people and to organize. We have three organizations: one for lawyers, one for psychologists and psychiatrists, and one for teachers that use the same tools that we use to communicate to organize them. So the teacher that is working in a gig style, teaching to students via internet with cell phones and Zoom, and teaching their subjects isolated from the school,
Yeah.
from schools and from his partners,
Institutions and partners and
from the
colleagues.
institutions.
Yeah.
It's really hard to organize. So we are
Yeah.
organizing very successfully those people. And the thing is, we are able to raise the salaries. We are able to politically educate those teachers and psychiatrists and psychologists and lawyers. And we are able to do something that is really delicate. Nowadays, to be a teacher working with the internet, you have to be more or less an influencer. Because
To
think
grow
about it. How the hell does a teacher who works using Zoom reaches his students?
Yeah.
So the biggest teachers, my friends, actually, who reach the most students, are kind of TikTokers and content creators. So it's kind of a double profession. You have to be a TikToker to reach your clients, your patients, to be a psychologist, to be a lawyer, to be a teacher. So we are eliminating that. We do the the influencer part. We
That's
reach
so
the
cool.
audience. We have professional communicators who reach the audience, and the teachers are going to teach. The psychologists are going to attend their patients. This is the important part. So this is to organize the workers and to give more dignity to everyone. So
Phenomenal.
we are really proud of it. And if you don't know those organizations, if you go to our page in any social media, so Soberana, you will find in the fixed posts every single information you would want. If you are a teacher, if you are a lawyer, if you are a psychologist or psychiatrist and are working in a gig economy, contact us. Please talk to us. For the Brazilians only, I'm sorry, the language is a very big barrier. And I am saying this in this podcast because we want to inspire other people in other countries to do something similar, because I know that other countries are doing the same. More people are working detached from a specific place, detached from institutions, physical institutions. Most people who work, for example, in Uber or delivering food, struggle to communicate and make friends and have contact with their peers. You can work completely isolated. So this is very detrimental for our organization and for political consciousness. So that is my plug. That is the most important thing that we are doing, and something I'm very proud of.
As you should be. As you should be. That is called fucking organizing.
Mm.
Thank you very much for everything you do on all the platforms, including the organizing that you do. Thank you for having taken the time to come on our show. And we look forward to seeing you again. I'm sure this will be a repeat. I think we can at least do it annually, but let's see where life takes us, and if we're still available, as long as we don't talk too much shit about our local factions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, definitely. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you to our local faction, the main organized crime syndicate that pays for our bread and allows this show to continue. Obviously, our lovely, lovely patrons. Thank you very much to everybody who supports us. If you would like to join this definitely 100% legal manner through which to support a channel, do consider clicking the link below, checking out the Patreon and joining it. You get many perks, from early episodes 1 week early to up to 2 exclusive episodes a week, access to the Discord channel, hangout sessions with us, as well as obviously supporting the show and allowing us to be as independent as we obviously are. And with that being said,
this has been the Deprogram. I'm JT.
I'm Hakeem.
I'm Ugopnik.
And I'm Ian, and I would like to invite you all to come to Brazil.
Hey,
Oh,
Brazil mentioned. Brazil mentioned.